Every time the man ate fish, his wife would first pluck out the fish's eyes, simply because he was blind. He'd eaten this way for over 10 years without suspecting anything unusual. Watching him chew with such relish, his wife would smile. Although born without sight, the man had been blessed with an unusually handsome face, the sort of face that made him the village's quiet celebrity. The local women openly admired him, often finding excuses to need a massage from his little shop. One day, the village belle behaved strangely. She told him that if he wanted to restore his vision, he should go pray at the nearby temple. A limping friend of hers had gone there every day, and on the 100th visit had walked away perfectly fine. After work, the man told his wife about the idea. Her reaction was instant and alarmed. She knew she wasn't beautiful and feared that if her husband regained his sight, he'd look down on her. But no matter how she tried to stop him, he was determined. The next morning, he set off for the temple. On the way, he met the village belle again. She was delighted. "Once you can see," she teased, "you'll finally know who the most beautiful woman in the village really is." At the temple, he tossed a coin into the offering box and prayed devoutly, hoping the gods would grant him sight. Later, while massaging a friend's shoulders, he mentioned his visits. The friend warned him not to hope too much. His wife, after all, also prayed there every day. No one knew exactly what she prayed for. The man ignored the warning and kept going daily. At home, his meals were still the same dried fish with their eyes removed, which he assumed was the finest delicacy. He confided to his wife that lately he'd been dreaming his eyes were getting better. Her face fell instantly. She decided then and there, his eyes should never work again. Still, he kept praying. Finally, the 100th day arrived. He prayed from the heart, but when he opened his eyes, the world was still black. Dejected, he walked home. On the way, a stone slipped from his hand. Bending to pick it up, he suddenly noticed his blurry world sharpening. He could see. Overjoyed, he embraced his wife and burst into tears. For the first time, he saw her face clearly and rushed to the mirror to admire them together, murmuring that they were a perfect match. But then he remembered his friend's words and casually asked if she had prayed for him. She said nothing, only walked away. From then on, his attitude began to shift. Even food tasted better, except the eyeless fish, which now looked too ugly to eat. He put down his chopsticks and decided to explore the world. Outside, he marveled at the sky, kicked a small stone, and picked it up for his wife. But a neighbor laughed. "No woman likes worthless rocks. She was just pretending." The man believed it and bought her an exquisite hairpin instead. She wasn't pleased. She scolded him for wasting money. Angry that his gift meant less to her than a pebble, he threw all her old stones out the door. One day, while giving his friend a massage, the friend asked what he thought of his wife's looks now. The man smiled and said she was beautiful, but his friend shook his head. She was plain, and if he hadn't been blind, he'd never have married her. The village belle, he said, was the one who truly matched him. After enough of these whispers, the man began to care about appearances. This made his wife uneasy. The next day, he went to the temple again and ran into the village belle. She had heard of his restored sight and reached out to stroke his face. At first, he meant to refuse, but her constant, flirtatious teasing wore him down. She was the village chief's daughter, wealthy beyond imagining. Even her snacks were things he'd never seen in his life. He was grateful for her generosity, but the air between them grew heavy. And then his wife appeared. Her cold gaze cut like a blade as she walked toward him without a word. Looking at the man she had loved for years, she thought, it was better when he was blind. She reached out and, with a horrifying swiftness, gouged out his eyes. When the man awoke, he was blind again. His wife calmly comforted him. He convinced himself it had all been a dream, but when she turned her head, the hairpin he'd given her glinted beneath the mirror. In the days that followed, she went up the mountain to pray every day that her husband would never see again, so they could remain the most loving couple, untouched by the temptations of a bright, distracting world. Because sometimes, the scariest place in the world is the human heart.